You know those days where you just feel off? Stressed, a little anxious, maybe kind of down, but you can't figure out why. You slept okay, nothing crazy happened at work, but there's just this weird weight. Well, what if a huge part of that feeling isn't some deep psychological thing, but it's actually hiding in plain sight, all around you, in the air you're breathing, in the sounds you hear every single day? So here's what we're going to get into. We're going to start by identifying this invisible stressor. Then we'll look at our first major clue, anxiety in the air. After that, we'll tune into the sound of stress. We'll also figure out who's most at risk from all this. And most importantly, we'll look at how we can start building healthier spaces for ourselves. All right, let's kick things off with a central mystery. What are these hidden forces that are messing with our well-being? I really want you to think about that for a second. We're so used to looking inward for the causes of stress, our thoughts, our relationships, our jobs. But this new research is pointing outwards, suggesting that our physical environment has a powerful, direct line to our mental health. The cause might not be in our heads, but all around us.
Okay, so this brings us to suspect number one, the air we breathe. It's so fundamental we barely even think about it, but scientists are now drawing a really clear line connecting the quality of our air to the quality of our mental health.
And to understand the scale of this, just look at this number. This isn't some problem for a handful of big cities. According to the World Health Organization, a wild 99% of people on this planet are breathing air that's considered unsafe. That's pretty much everybody. So what are we really talking about with air pollution? Well, a key culprit is something called particulate matter 2.5, or PM 2.5 for short. And this isn't just dust. These are microscopic particles, so incredibly tiny that they can sneak past all your body's defenses, get deep into your lungs, and even slip right into your bloodstream. From there, they can travel anywhere, including your brain. And here's where it gets really concrete. A recent study looking at adolescents in China found a direct, measurable link. For every single unit that PM 2.5 pollution went up, their depression scores went up by about a third of a point. And on that scale, a higher score means worse symptoms. So this isn't just a vague idea. It's a quantifiable hit to their mental health. So how exactly does this happen? Well, the research points to a bunch of indirect hits. For one, high pollution days mess with our sleep. They make it way less likely that we'll go outside for a walk or to exercise. What do we do instead? We stay inside, which often means more screen time. For kids and teens, it can even affect their physical growth and raise the risk of other diseases, all things we know have a huge impact on mental well-being. But the air we breathe isn't the only invisible factor at play. Let's move on to our second suspect, one that affects pretty much anyone living in a modern city: noise. That constant background hum of traffic, construction, and sirens that we think we've learned to just tune out. And the evidence here is overwhelming. A massive meta-analysis, that's a study of studies, looked at data from over 15,000 adults. And the conclusion was totally clear. Long-term exposure to noise from our environment is significantly linked to both depression and anxiety.
And we're not talking about a small risk. The analysis found that people who are constantly exposed to environmental noise have a 29% higher risk of experiencing symptoms of depression and anxiety, a nearly 30% jump, all from something we usually just dismiss as background noise.
So where's all this noise coming from? Well, it's the usual suspects, really. Road traffic is the biggest and most studied one, but noise from airplanes, trains, and even just that general hum of a busy community, it all adds up. Okay, so here's the critical part. What's happening inside our bodies? This chronic noise isn't just annoying, it's constantly triggering our body's ancient fight-or-flight stress response. It's like having a smoke detector that's always chirping. This keeps our body flooded with stress hormones like cortisol, and being stuck in that state of high alert day in and day out just wears us down. It makes it harder to regulate our emotions, and that can open the door to anxiety and depression. So, we've identified our two big culprits, bad air and constant noise. But here's a really important question. Does this affect everybody in the same way? Well, the research says a clear no. That study on air pollution in teens found that some groups get hit way harder than others. The negative mental health effects were stronger in females, and students living in urban areas suffered more than those in rural areas.
But maybe the most concerning finding was that the youngest kids, the ones not even in high school yet, were the most vulnerable of all. And when you look at noise pollution, you see a really similar and frankly unfair pattern. Lower-income communities are often located right in the middle of the noisiest areas, with housing that offers less sound protection. And for anyone who's already dealing with a mental health condition, their sensitivity to noise is often way higher, making them even more vulnerable. This isn't just a health issue, it's an equity issue. Okay, so the evidence is pretty stark, but this is not a story about doom and gloom, because the same research that identifies the problems also points us towards solutions. Now that we can see what's going on, we can actually start to design our way out of it. So what can we actually do? For air pollution, the researchers laid out a super clear 3-step plan. Step 1, monitor. We need real-time air quality sensors, especially near places like schools. Step 2, educate. We need to teach kids about these risks and how to cope. And step 3, adapt. On days when the air is bad, you simply move recess or sports inside. It's practical, it's simple, and it works. And what about all that noise? The solutions are just as straightforward. We need stronger rules to control noise pollution. We need to build homes with better sound insulation. City planners can design more green spaces, which are natural sound barriers. And, critically, we need to focus these efforts on protecting those high-risk groups we were just talking about. So the next time you have one of those days with that weird, unexplained stress, maybe just pause, take a deep breath, and think about the air you're breathing. Listen to the sounds around you. This research makes it obvious that our mental health isn't just in our heads, it's deeply connected to the world around us. These invisible stressors are real, but they're not invincible. Now that we can see them, we can finally start to build a world that's healthier not just for our bodies, but for our minds too.